What's going on, everyone? Bran here from Bloody Breakdown, and today I'm going to do another one of my Scream 2022 theory videos. This one's pretty straightforward, I believe. What you have here in front of you are the cast members of Scream 5, Scream 2022, whatever you want to call it. And what I want to do today is I want to give my idea, my opinion on which of these cast members is going to bite it and which ones are going to live on to a possible Scream 6, even though it definitely won't be called that. And yeah, like I said in the past, I've kind of given you my ideas as to who I think Ghostface could be, what the legacy characters could be up to. Now, I think another important thing to touch on is at the end of the day, when the credits roll on this thing, who's going to be left standing? By the way, I think it's going to be interesting to see if there is any Ghostface attack right before the credits roll, because that was always an indication back in the earlier films that kind of like that James Bond will return, like Ghostface will return. Because if you notice, it happened at the end of the first Scream, the second Scream, but not in the third, because that was intended to originally be the ending. And I don't think it happened in the fourth either. I'm pretty sure it didn't. So interesting note, I don't know, just weird shit that someone who watches these films way too much contemplates. So let's go ahead and jump in. We will start, of course, with Neve Campbell, Sidney Prescott. A lot of people wondering, are they really going to do are they really gonna go through with it and kill Sidney Prescott off? Because she's the franchise. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. If this movie was coming out with just Courtney Cox and David Arquette, it would be leaving a lot to be desired. With that said, she's getting older. The legacy cast are getting older. This isn't something they want to do forever. These are typically physical roles. But do you kill her? Do you kill her? Or do you just let her survive and maybe pop her head into the franchise from time to time when you need to pick me up? My idea, my opinion, you don't kill Sidney. You don't fuck with the legacy that is Sidney Prescott in these films. Hey, it's like Sidney said, you don't fuck with the original, right? So at the end of the day, my guess is, and I don't think I'm going to, be shocking too many people with this one, but I'm going to say Sidney lives. And I think that's pretty open and shut. I think that, like I said, the route to go is to create and establish a new final girl for these films to follow going forward. But keep Sidney alive, keep it to where she can pop her head in and offer her expertise, and just be a part of the series that way. That would be how I would proceed. But who the fuck am I? Anyway, we're going to move on next to, let's go David Arquette. Let's go Dewey. Here is a guy who has been one of my favorite characters throughout the franchise. Kind of shocked that he lived this long, because usually my favorite characters die fairly quickly. See Randy. Just saying. But as far as Dewey goes, I mentioned earlier that, Sidney is someone you can keep bringing back. David Arquette's a guy who loves this franchise, and he's a guy who will keep coming back. No offense to the guy, but it's not like he has a whole lot going on. And this is a franchise where he is royalty for the most part. And he loves these films based on what I've seen, and he'd keep coming back. With that said, I think they're going to pull the trigger. I think they will off Dewey in this one. I think Dewey's a dead man. Unfortunately, I think he is going to be the catalyst that finally brings Gail and Sidney together as a team, not just simply coexisting or despising one another, as you've seen over the last few sequels. I think Sidney and Gail are going to become kind of like a force, at least I think during the third act of this film. And I think Dewey's death is going to bring that about. I think that Dewey's death is probably going to bring Sidney back into this. I don't think you have to worry about Gail. She's going to be a part of this thing as soon as it kicks off. Surprise, surprise, someone dies and Gail comes running, right? Excuse me. But I as much as it sucks, and I hope he does, I really hope. I hope Dewey survives. But I gotta tell you, I think that they're wanting to reestablish that anyone can die. And with that being said, as much as I protest it should be Gail, I think Dewey's the guy they're going to go with. And I think he's going to be, like I said, that catalyst to bring Sid and Gail together. And I think he's going to be the one to reaffirm after 2 movies in 3 and 4 where that kind of went out the window that anybody can die. I think this is going to be the one to bring that idea back. And is it necessary? Yes. Should it be Gail? Yes. Anyway, so moving along to Gail Courtney Cox, as I just said. Now for her, in a heartbeat, I would trade her death for Dewey's. I would trade it. I would rather she go down. I think Dewey's got a lot more heart. The character does. I think there's more to him that we haven't seen yet. You know, Kevin Williamson has said before he had a hard time writing for Dewey. Maybe Chad doesn't. The new writer, I believe his name is anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong. Villanueva or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have that same issue writing for Dewey, and maybe there's more to explore. And the fact that he will do them, and Courtney asked to be killed in the last one. Never mind all that. I think she'll probably live. At the end of the day, I think she'll live. And I'm kind of on the fence about it because I think if she does die, it's in the third act for sure. And it's right there toward the end. But I think that she'll probably live. And the thing that pushes me off the fence on this one is that now famous picture of Nev, Courtney, and Kevin right in front of Stu's old house, right after the film had wrapped. Dewey not being there, Gail being there kind of tells me something. I could be totally wrong and totally off on this, but that's kind of how I feel. I think at the end of the day, your legacy characters that are going to be left over are Gail and Sidney. Now, the interesting thing about that is, will you see Gail in any more future sequels? I don't know. This may be her last one, but she may end up surviving this thing, even though she's said that she'd like to be killed in one of these movies, asked to be killed in the last one, but whatever. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, she's going to live. So, I guess we'll just go ahead and jump to Melissa Barrera now as Sam Carpenter. I'm going to go ahead and put it out here. I think that she's going to be the new Gail. I think that after this is said and done, we're going to set up a new batch of what will become legacy characters. A new Dewey, a new Sidney, a new Gail, maybe even a new Randy. I'll get to that here momentarily, but I believe Melissa Barrera's character is your new Gail. I don't think she's going to be the final girl, but I think she's going to be A1, like Gail has been. Not necessarily the final girl, but A1 to the final girl. Let's say that. And with that said, I think she's going to survive. I think that this film is going to set up, like I said, a new Sid, Dewey, Gail, maybe Randy, and I definitely see her filling that Gail spot. I see her surviving. I see her going forward in this franchise. Definitely not ending in Scream 5. So after Melissa Barrera, we have, of course, Jenna Ortega as Tara Carpenter. And considering I said I think she's set up to be the new Sidney, I think she's going to survive as well. I don't see a scenario with her dying. The only scenario I could see with her dying is if she were the killer. They've already tried that in Scream 4. I'd say it was effective, but I definitely wouldn't do it again. At that point, you're just kind of, spinning your wheels, doing the same shit over and over and over again. And even though some things in this franchise I do like to see over and over and over again, it's not who the killer is. that kind of takes away from it for me. But I see Jenna Ortega being the new Sydney, being the new final girl of this franchise. So I say she's definitely going to survive. So far we're up to 4 survivors in this. All right, it's about to go downhill fairly soon. So up next, let's talk about Jack Quaid, who's going to be portraying Richie Curse or Curse. I don't know. I hate that. It's a pet peeve of mine about the English language, but never mind. Jack Quaid is going to be the new Dewey. He is, as far as I understand it, in a relationship with Melissa Barrera's character. There's your Gail Dewey right there. I think those 3, Sam, Tara, and Richie, are going to be your new Gail, Sydney, Dewey. That's what I believe. I think those 3 are going to be the ones to contend with throughout the rest of this new part of the franchise. Fingers crossed there is one. Hopefully this movie does very well. And Rio 2 or something doesn't destroy it. And not much to say about that. I think Richie is going to be an endearing character, much like Dewey. The relationship that he has with Melissa Barrera's character is already there. I'm seeing some elements here that put me in mind of the legacy characters. And with that said, Jack Quaid lives. Just my opinion. So up next we have, and I'll go ahead and skip around here, Marley Shelton as Judy Hicks. Gotta tell you, Judy, not looking good for you. So let's go back here. This franchise has always been pretty big about like killing off the +1. Sydney, Dewey, Gail always survive. I don't know about this movie, but in the past have always survived. They always get a +1. Someone gets a +1. So it was Randy in the first film. He died in the next film. Cotton survived the second film, dies quickly in the third film. I'm pretty sure if Patrick Dempsey, who played Detective Kincaid, had come back for the fourth film, he'd have been fucking dead. That's all I'm saying. With that said, Marley Shelton's character is returning. Whether she be Ghostface or not, I'll just throw that out there because I have some suspicions when it comes to her. I think most of us big Scream fans do. I think Marley Shelton, a.k.a. Judy Hicks, is R.I.P. I don't see her making it past the second Scream film. It seems to be the way things are done in this franchise. And I know a lot of things are probably going to be different this time, but I think certain things are going to stay the same. Judy, yeah, I think you're donezo. So next up, we have Dylan Minnette as Wes Hicks, her son, or so we assume. And once again, whether he's Ghostface or not, I think there is a small chance of him surviving, giving his namesake in Wes Craven. There's also a big chance he's Ghostface, and I think there's a bigger chance he dies either way. I know a lot of people don't want to jump on this, but it's like at some point, there's got to be characters that live. There's got to be characters that die. And I think that the Hickses are going to meet their ultimate demise in Scream 5. So, or Scream 2022. I got to stop saying that because it's just factually incorrect at this point. So up next, we have Mason Gooding as Chad Meeks Martin. Now I want to tackle him and Jasmine Savoy Brown's Mindy Meeks Martin simultaneously. And I'll tell you why. I don't know which of them it's going to be, but my gut feeling is that one of them are going to survive. I don't know if it's going to be Chad. I don't know if it's going to be Mindy, but one of them I believe is going to survive. And I think I keep hearkening back to so much emphasis being put in interviews on the fact of why it's called Scream, why it's not called Scream 5. And I think some of the elements from that first film are going to come back. With that being said, I mentioned earlier a new Sydney Dewey Gale in Sam, Tara, and Richie. I think your +1 in this movie is either it's gonna be one of Randy's niece or nephew, and you know, history repeating itself in that way. I don't know if it's which one it's going to be, but I will say right here, right now, one of them dies, one of them lives. As far as which, hard to say. But since I'm making my video, I'm going to put my money on Chad. Just totally a guess, shot in the dark, but that's kind of where I'm leaning. So up next, we have Kyle Garner as Vince. Ghostface or not, Vince is fucking dead. He doesn't even have a last name. He's dead. He could be Ghostface. He could be a minuscule character that doesn't matter, and that's why he doesn't have a last name. He could have a cool backstory. His last name could be Loomis. Either way, Ghostface or not, I see his character dying at the end of the day. I don't think there's any way around that. If you know, for all of these, but if you disagree, let me know why down below. So I'll move on here to Mikey Madison, who's playing Amber Freeman. I think it's pretty obvious, at least in my mind, to say she's a goner. Dunzo. She, to me, looks like just an easy way to raise that body count. I know every character thus far, with the exception of one or two of the minor characters, you kind of see how they play out and how they are placed in these certain roles. But even so, even if people think maybe she's more important than what I'm giving her credit for, you know, she could be Ghostface. But either way, I'm saying dead, dunzo. So up next, we have the Liv Mckenzie character. I'm calling the Liv Mckenzie character could very well not just die, but be an opening kill, considering she lives right down the street from the Becker's old house from the original film. You know, their family was even referenced in that film. Go down the street, or get in the car, drive to the Mackenzies. She's dead. She's totally fucking dead. I don't see any other way around this one. She may not be the opening kill, but regardless, she did. So up next, I'm going to do these two at the same time. We have Deputy Farney and Deputy Vinson. These are hard to call when it comes to Scream, because you could have like a Scream scenario where, and I speak of the original, where none of the cops died. You know, Dewey made it. The Sheriff Burke made it. Scream 2, the Chief, Lewis Hartley, he made it, but both of his quote unquote best detectives, Andrews and Richards, done. Scream 3, we saw Wallace and Kincaid both survive that film. And in Scream 4, we did see 2 officers done, but, you know, Dewey and Hicks lived. So it was kind of a split 50-50 on that one. So it's hard to call. I'd say definitely one or both of them die if they're in this film enough. If they're not too much background characters, one or both probably will die. And I'll be honest with you, it's hard to say, but I think they may pad the numbers with these guys, as you've seen in certain other of the Scream films. I think they definitely, Officer Richards and Andrews in Scream 2 was definitely a way to pad the numbers. But yeah, those 2 characters just don't seem very important, and for that reason, I'm suspicious of them. I don't know if anyone else feels that way. But yeah, I do see one or both of them biting it as well. Now, there's another one more name here that I haven't spoken about yet, and that is before I start getting into some speculation, and that is, of course, Martha Meeks herself. Unfortunately, I think the Meeks family is going to suffer in this one. I think one of the teens are going to die, and I do think that Martha's going to die as well. She could be the opening kill. She could be someone to bring our legacy characters back into the fold. I'm not really sure, but what I am pretty damn sure of is that Heather Matarazzo is going to be dead in this one. Martha Meeks is going to be dead. I don't think that there's too much of a reason to bring back her character. I mean, she was a throwaway kind of cameo character in Scream 3. I get they kind of want to do some family ties type stuff and introduce some new characters and second gen characters, and she's an easy way to do that. But I think at the end of the day, she's done. I don't see her being Ghostface, although I could be wrong on that. This whole thing could be Mindy, Martha and her twin kids, avenging Randy's death. These killers were never after Randy. They're after Sydney, and he was nearby her because, the unrequited love slave of Sidney Prescott. He knows all about obsession and pain. So there could be some resentment there. I don't know. Just saying. But I think she's a goner. I think she is. Now, there's a couple of names floating around, a few, on if they would return. And I guess I'll go ahead and speculate if these characters would return, would they survive or die? So we'll start with Kirby. I don't think you're going to see Kirby in any big capacity in this film. I think the best possibility of her being in this film went out the window when they said they didn't have to do any additional scenes. But if she comes back, I think it'll be in a small cameo way and will not die. Because that would probably piss a lot of Kirby stands off, and there are a lot of them. Another rumor is Stu. I don't believe it. I don't see it happening. But let's just say Stu came back. Do you kill him automatically? You know, does he go to jail? Because he's got to be involved at that point. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say something interesting. I think if Stu were to come back in this one, he lives. Because that character's got mileage at that point. You can do some interesting stuff with him. You can finally get that whole, which you may in this film, if they go that direction, get that whole cult of Ghostface thing going on. And the other one that comes to mind that I've heard some people talk about is Joel, the cameraman from Scream 2. Some people are theorizing that not only is he in this film, because, you know, I don't know why Google thinks he's a part of this film, but anytime you Google it, he shows up as a cast member. But, you know, take that shit with a fucking grain of salt, a boulder of salt. You know, there are rumors that he could be in this film. He could be the father of Mindy and Chad, the twins, Randy's niece and nephew, which means he'd be hooking up with Martha. Is that totally implausible? I think on the outside, you may say yes. But I think if you think more into it, the fact that Randy died in Joel's van, maybe his death, seeing Randy in that van that's what got him the fuck out of town, saved his life. And, you know, maybe Randy took his place. I don't know. Maybe there's a reasoning for all this. I don't know. I'm theorizing into a theory, into rumors that have no merit whatsoever. So maybe it's time I get off that. One more really quickly. If Selena Gomez is in it, yes, she's dead. She'd be the opening kill, right? She's not in it, by the way. But if she is, she's fucking dead. So there it is. There it is. I've gone through the entire cast of confirmed names and rumored names, and that is kind of how I feel. At the end of the day, who's going to survive this thing? Who's going to walk away? I think Sidney and Gail are. I don't think you're going to see Gail much, if any, after this movie. And I think Sidney's role will be greatly reduced should the franchise continue. I think your main four going forward are going to be Sarah Carpenter, Tara, Sam Carpenter, Richie, and one of the Meeks twins. That's my idea going forward. So yeah, let me know what you all think down below in the comments. Do you think I'm way the fuck off on this? Do you agree with what I have to say? Let me know in the comment section down below. While you're there, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, turn on notifications, because of course you want more great stand-up fucking content like this. Do you not? Were you not entertained, motherfucker? I kid. Anyway, yeah, check the description section. You'll see a link to my Patreon where you can support this channel and what it is I do here. Why don't you go be like Rel the Great, who joined the producers tier, and now as a result of that, I mention Rel every single video as a producer of this video and my content in general. So be like Rel, go become a patron. I would be eternally grateful for the support. And also there's a link to my Twitter down there if you want to follow me. So yeah, I guess that's going to be about it. Once again, let me know what you all think in the comment section down below. I'm Bran from Bloody Breakdown, and we'll catch you all next time.